After 40 years of marriage, Harold thought he'd seen it all. Burnt Thanksgiving turkeys, forgotten anniversaries, 2 kids, 3 miscarriages, a shared mortgage, and that one regrettable time they tried salsa dancing. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared him for what happened after their Ruby anniversary dinner. The night had started off normal enough: candlelight, wine, and his wife Elaine pretending to care about the dry steak while scrolling through her phone like a bored teenager. Harold didn't mind. He was used to it. That's what marriage became after a few decades, right? Comfortable silence and separate worlds under the same roof. But this time, something was different. Elaine was glowing, not in the compliment your wife before she stabs you with a salad fork kind of way, but in the teenage girl just got a text from her crush way. Her phone buzzed 3 times during dessert. She smiled. Not at Harold, not at the cake he ordered with "Forever Yours" piped in clumsy chocolate icing. She smiled at her damn screen. That night she went to bed in silk. Not her usual old flannel pajamas, actual silk. Red. And Harold, God bless him, thought maybe, just maybe, they were going to reignite something. Instead, she rolled away from him, said she had a migraine, and clutched her phone like it was a lifeline. It wasn't until the next morning that Harold noticed the name lighting up her screen. Travis. He blinked. Travis wasn't a coworker. Travis wasn't a cousin. Travis was someone much, much worse. Travis was their son's best friend. Harold stared at the screen like it had just slapped him across the face and called him old man. Travis, 28, personal trainer, drove a black Mustang like he was auditioning for a bad action movie, showed up to family barbecues in tank tops and sunglasses, even when it rained. Harold had always thought the guy was annoying, but harmless. He was wrong on both counts. Elaine used to call Travis such a sweet boy. Then it became a driven young man. Then just Travis, said with a little breathiness that Harold, in hindsight, should have caught. At first, Harold tried to play it cool. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe Travis was just helping her with a workout plan. Yeah, a core strength routine if you catch my drift. But the signs were everywhere once he let himself look. Her sudden obsession with yoga pants, despite never stepping foot in a yoga class. The way she giggled at texts and locked her phone with a new passcode. And worst of all, how she started criticizing him. Everything from his posture to his cholesterol levels. Maybe you should try walking more, she'd say. Travis says daily steps are key. Oh, so now Travis was a prophet. Then came the day Harold walked into the kitchen and found her on a video call, wearing makeup, hair curled, giggling like she was 19 again. And there he was, on screen, shirtless, Travis. Elaine didn't even look guilty. Harold stood by the kitchen counter, arms crossed, eyes narrowed, watching Elaine pour herself another cup of tea like it was any regular Tuesday morning. So let me get this straight, he said slowly, carefully. Travis used to just say hi at barbecues. Now he's texting you every day, calling, FaceTiming you in the middle of the afternoon. That normal now? Elaine didn't even flinch. She stirred her tea, took a sip, and replied with the kind of calm that made Harold's blood pressure spike. He's just being helpful, Harold. Helpful? Harold echoed. What, he sensed your cholesterol through the grill at the 4th of July party? Elaine shot him a look. Don't be dramatic, he's a certified trainer. He knows his stuff. He offered to help with some wellness tips, that's all. Harold raised an eyebrow. And those wellness tips require 3-hour phone calls and private video chats? Elaine set the cup down a little too firmly. You're twisting things. No, Harold said, his voice quieter now but sharper. I'm watching things. There's a difference. She sighed and looked away, suddenly finding the wallpaper pattern on the wall very interesting. Look, I've just been feeling off lately, stuck, tired. And Travis was kind enough to check in, gave me advice on eating cleaner, taking care of myself. He encouraged me. That's all. Harold leaned on the counter, studying her. And you couldn't come to me with that? I've been sitting at the same dinner table with you for 40 years. Her lips tightened. It's not about you, he exhaled. Oh, believe me, I'm starting to get that. Elaine turned back to him, her tone softening. There's nothing going on, I swear. It's just talk. A bit of motivation, a bit of attention. From our son's best friend, Harold said flatly. She didn't respond, and for a long moment, the only sound in the room was the faint ticking of the kitchen clock, counting down to whatever came next. For the next week, Harold tried to convince himself it really was nothing. Just conversations, just tips, just Travis being helpful. Sure, and raccoons knock over trash cans to reorganize them, but Elaine, she was different lately. Not in a bad way, not exactly. She was more energetic, more polished, more alive, like someone who'd been sleepwalking for years and suddenly found a double espresso and a new playlist. She started making smoothies in the morning, green ones, the kind that looked like pond water but cost $9.99 at health food stores. She took up long walks after dinner, wearing new sneakers Harold didn't remember buying. She even bought a yoga mat which remained spotless and suspiciously unused in the corner of the living room. And Travis? He was now calling her coach in texts she accidentally left open on the kitchen counter. Laughing emojis, thumbs up. Crushed what? Harold wanted to ask, but he didn't. Instead, he invited Nick, their son, over for dinner, maybe for backup, maybe for clarity, maybe just to see if anyone else noticed the elephant in the room doing push-ups. Nick arrived late, as always, and greeted his mom with a quick hug before turning to Harold. So, Dad, he said, opening the fridge without shame, you hear Travis is starting a YouTube channel? Health stuff? Meal plans? All that? Harold's eye twitched. Elaine, smiling just a bit too brightly, chimed in. He mentioned it. He's really passionate about helping people take care of themselves. Nick nodded. Yeah, he's been on fire lately. Says he's got a great support system. You know anyone he's working with? Elaine shrugged. Just a few folks, here and there. Harold's fork clinked against his plate. He didn't say anything else that night. He just watched. Watched how Elaine laughed at every one of Nick's stories, how she checked her phone twice during dessert, how her cheeks flushed when a certain name popped up. Again. It wasn't proof, but it was smoke. And Harold knew better than anyone, where there's smoke, there's usually Travis. Harold wasn't the jealous type. Okay, maybe a little. He once gave the UPS guy a death stare because Elaine laughed at one of his dumb package jokes. But this wasn't insecurity. This was intuition. The kind of gut feeling you get when your favorite chair's been moved and nobody admits to touching it. He didn't want to become that guy, the one who starts snooping, checking browser histories and GPS pings. But curiosity has a funny way of dressing up as concern when you've been married 40 years. So one evening, while Elaine was out on another walk that somehow took her to the other side of town and back, Harold sat down at her computer. Just sat, just looked. Her browser was open. She had tabs saved. One was a protein powder review. Fine. Innocent enough. Another? Travis's fitness blog, with weekly transformation stories and a client of the month section. And there she was, Elaine, smiling, posed next to Travis at a gym Harold didn't even know she visited. The caption read, Elaine M., proof that age is just a number when you've got the right mindset and a little guidance. Little guidance, huh? Harold leaned back in the chair, stunned. No mention of her being married. No mention of the husband who'd made her tea for 40 years during flu season. No photos of the life they'd built, just her and the fitness guru, glowing like they'd conquered Everest together. And the comments? Oh wow, Travis, you work with all ages. That's amazing. She looks fantastic. Y'all make a great team. Team, right. Elaine came home not long after, cheeks pink from the wind, or from something else, and she hummed while taking off her shoes. You okay? She asked, seeing him at the desk. Harold closed the laptop gently, smiled, just checking the weather. The next morning was quiet. Too quiet. Elaine made her usual green swamp smoothie and sat at the table scrolling through her phone, humming to herself like someone in a great mood, which, frankly, should have been Harold's first clue that things were very much not okay. He took a sip of coffee and set the mug down just loud enough to get her attention. "So," he began casually, "didn't know you were the star of a health blog now." Elaine froze for a split second, barely noticeable, unless you'd spent 4 decades watching the way someone blinked when caught off guard. She looked up slowly. "Oh, that?" "Travis just wanted to spotlight a few of his clients. I didn't think it was a big deal." Harold nodded. "Right, not a big deal. Just you and Travis, sweaty, posing, inspiring strangers." She set her phone down. "You're being ridiculous." "Am I?" he asked, leveling his gaze. "Because I don't remember signing a release form for you to delete our entire marriage from your transformation story." Elaine sighed, annoyed now. "It was about wellness, Harold. About taking care of myself. You've said it yourself. I haven't been feeling like me lately." He stared at her. "And Travis helped you find yourself, huh?" She didn't answer that, which, to Harold, was an answer. "You're overthinking this," she added after a pause. "There's nothing wrong with a little encouragement. We're friends, that's all. Friends, with someone 30 years younger, with abs and a 6-figure Instagram following, with a habit of calling her coach and sending fire emojis at 11:45 p.m. Harold stood up slowly, walked to the sink, and rinsed his mug. His voice was quiet. Too quiet. "Just tell me one thing," he said, staring out the window. "Does Nick know?" Elaine flinched at their son's name. "I haven't said anything," she muttered. "Because there's nothing to say." Harold turned, eyes sharper now. "Then maybe he deserves to hear it from me, before someone else says, 'Hey, isn't that your mom on Travis's blog?'" She didn't respond, didn't deny it, didn't yell, didn't throw a tantrum like in the old days. She just looked tired. And Harold, for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel tired at all. He felt done. Elaine came downstairs just after sunset, suitcase in hand and determination in her eyes. Harold was sitting in his usual spot on the couch, a glass of water untouched on the table, the TV on but muted. He saw her silhouette in the doorway and didn't move. She hesitated for a moment, then stepped into the room. "I've been thinking," she said, her voice low but steady, "and I need to say this before I lose my nerve." Harold didn't even blink. He just said, "Go on." She exhaled. One long breath, the kind that usually came before something final. "I've spent 40 years being everything for everyone. A wife, a mother, a nurse, a cook, a planner, a peacemaker. But somewhere along the way, I lost myself." Harold tilted his head. "So where'd you find yourself exactly? In the passenger seat of a Mustang?" Her jaw twitched. She didn't like that, but he didn't care. Not tonight. "I want to feel something again," she said quietly. "I want joy, adventure. I want to wake up excited about the day instead of going through the motions." Harold let out a dry laugh. "And Travis gives you all that? The guy who calls every dog he sees bro?" "He listens," she shot back, sharp now. "He sees me. You haven't really looked at me in years." That one cut deep, but Harold didn't flinch. He rubbed his hands together slowly, like he was trying to warm up in the middle of a blizzard. Then, "So what now?" Elaine set her bag down. "I'm moving out." He stared at her. "Not forever," she added quickly. "Just for now. Just for a while. To get some space." Harold stood up but didn't move toward her. He just looked at her like he was seeing a stranger for the first time. "Right. Because nothing says self-discovery like crashing on the couch of your son's childhood friend." She didn't argue, didn't flinch. She just picked up her bag and walked to the door. And when the door clicked shut behind her, the silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that echoes. Harold sat back down, eyes on the glass of water, and muttered, "Should have known the midlife crisis wasn't mine this time." The house was too quiet now. No humming from the kitchen, no sound of slippers shuffling down the hallway, no sarcastic commentary during morning news shows. Just the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak in the floorboards, like the place itself wasn't sure what to do without her. Harold sat at the table with a notebook in front of him. Not a journal. He wasn't that sentimental. But a list. Just a short one. Things Elaine took: one suitcase, her wellness blender, that stupid lavender robe she wore when she was pretending to meditate, her vitamins, of course. Things. She left. 40 years of memories. Her wedding ring in the drawer. A man who built her a life from scratch and thought it was enough. The part that stung the most wasn't the betrayal. It was the casualness of it. Like she was just going on a little retreat. Spa weekend, but with extra protein shakes and bad judgment. Harold looked over at the mantel. Their family photos were still there, all of them, including one of Nick and Travis from high school, both with braces and matching buzz cuts, grinning like they'd just pulled off a prank. He stared at Travis's young, smug face for a long time, then picked up the frame and set it down face first. It wasn't rage he felt, not yet. It was something colder, heavier, resolve. Elaine had walked out of their shared life like it was a pair of shoes that didn't fit anymore. Well, maybe it was time Harold stopped waiting by the door like a loyal golden retriever. Maybe it was time to do something unexpected, something he wanted. And the first step? He pulled out his phone, scrolled down to Nick, paused, then tapped call. Nick answered on the third ring, voice casual, like nothing in the world had tilted off its axis. "Hey, Dad, what's up?" Harold cleared his throat. He hadn't planned the words, just knew they needed to come out. "You free to stop by tonight?" A pause. Yeah. Everything okay?" Harold hesitated. Then, "No, but I think it's time you knew why." An hour later, Nick walked through the front door, holding a bag of takeout and 2 beers, trying to play it light. The second he saw Harold's face, he knew it was useless. "Okay," he said, setting everything down. "You're scaring me. What's going on?" Harold didn't waste time. "Your mother left." Nick blinked. "Left where?" "Left me. Packed a bag. Said she needed space." Nick's mouth opened, then shut, like his brain couldn't quite keep up. "Wait. What? When? Why?" Harold exhaled slowly. "Let's just say she's found herself a new wellness journey, led by a familiar face." Nick stared. "What the hell does that mean?" Harold didn't blink. "She's staying with Travis." And there it was, that moment where reality punches the air out of a room. Nick stood frozen, processing. Then he laughed, short, dry, like it betrayed him. "You're joking, right? Please tell me you're joking." Harold shook his head. "I wish I were." Nick ran a hand through his hair, pacing now. "No. No way. Travis. My Travis. He's like family." Harold raised an eyebrow. "Apparently more than that." Nick stopped pacing. His face went pale. "You're sure?" "I'm sure," Harold said. "She didn't deny it. Just wrapped it in some speech about finding herself and needing to feel alive again. You know, the usual motivational poster stuff." Nick sat down heavily. For a long while, they didn't speak. Then Nick muttered, almost to himself, "This is so messed up." Harold nodded. "Yup." Another pause. Then Nick looked up, eyes narrowed. "You want me to talk to him?" Harold chuckled once, bitterly. "What are you gonna say?" "Hey bro, thanks for spotting my mom's emotional dumbbells." Nick groaned and put his head in his hands. Harold stood and grabbed one of the beers, handed it to him. "Here's to family." He said it flatly. No smile. Nick took the beer but didn't toast. He just stared at the wall, the same wall where Travis's old photo still lay face down on the shelf. Nick didn't sleep that night. And Harold? He didn't even try. He just sat in the dark kitchen sipping lukewarm coffee like it was fuel for staying civil. The next morning, Harold was outside clipping the overgrown hedge when Nick's car came screeching into the driveway. Door swung open, engine still running. "He's at the gym," Nick said, marching toward him. "I called. Told him I wanted to meet. Didn't mention you." Harold raised an eyebrow. "What's the plan?" "Hit him with a kettlebell mid-set." Nick didn't smile. No, I'm gonna talk. You're gonna watch. And if he lies to my face, then I'm hitting him with something. They pulled up to the gym 20 minutes later. It was one of those modern glass-walled places where everything smells like eucalyptus and insecurity. Travis was outside, leaning against his car, not the Mustang this time, but a brand new SUV, no doubt paid for by wellness packages and poor decisions. He waved when he saw Nick, casual as ever. Like this was a friendly catch-up. Then he saw Harold step out of the passenger seat. Smile? Gone. Hey, mister. Travis shifted awkwardly. Didn't know you'd be here. Harold gave a slow nod. Yeah, I figured you wouldn't send an invite. Nick crossed his arms. Let's not waste time. Are you seriously seeing my mom? Travis blinked. Whoa, man. Seeing is a big word. Oh, really? Harold said. Because she left our house and moved into wherever you keep your emotional support blender. Travis glanced around, suddenly less zen. Look, I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen, Nick cut in. You knew she was married. You've known us since I was 12. You came to our house, ate our food, called my parents your second family. Travis held up his hands. Elaine's an adult. She makes her own choices. I didn't force anything. We connected. Harold laughed, low and humorless. You connected? What is this, a phone plan? Nick took a step closer, jaw tight. You betrayed us, man. You disrespected my family. You couldn't have picked anyone else on earth. It had to be my mom? Travis looked genuinely cornered now. It wasn't planned, all right? We started talking. She felt unseen. I listened. Things happened. Harold leaned in just enough to make the air colder. Then listen to this, Travis. You may think you've won something here, but all you've done is invite yourself into a storm you have no idea how to weather. Silence. Travis swallowed. Are you threatening me? Harold straightened his jacket. No, not yet. Nick nodded toward the gym doors. You might want to go inside, cool off, maybe lift something heavy, like your conscience. As they turned to leave, Travis called after them. Tell her I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Harold didn't stop walking, didn't look back, just raised a hand and said, You'll have plenty of time to explain that, when it all falls apart. 2 weeks into her so-called space, Elaine found herself sitting on a gray couch in Travis's modern but soulless apartment, scrolling through streaming services and trying not to cry into her turmeric protein shake. At first, it was exciting. Travis was charming, affectionate, spontaneous, and very into motivational speeches that involved flexing in front of a mirror. But reality? It crept in fast. Turns out, living with a 28-year-old personal trainer was less eat, pray, love, and more wake-lift blender noise at 5 a.m. His fridge had no real food, just tubs of prepped chicken, protein powder, and enough kale to choke a goat. He insisted on tracking their daily gratitude reflections on a whiteboard. Elaine missed her bed, her actual one, with Harold, the one with the worn-in mattress and the familiar warmth that never needed explaining. She missed real dinners, laughter that wasn't forced, silence that wasn't awkward. One night she brought up a memory from the past, a family vacation, when Nick was 8 and built a sandcastle with Harold that got swept away by a rogue wave. She laughed at the memory. Travis didn't. He was too busy editing a fitness reel for Instagram. Cool story, babe, he mumbled. Can you slide over a bit? The lighting's better on that side. That was it. That was the moment. Elaine stared at him, at his chiseled jaw, his ring light, his smoothie that smelled like sadness, and realized she had mistaken novelty for happiness. Pep talks for love, a gym crush for a soulmate. The next morning she packed her bag. Again. Only this time she didn't know where she was going. She just knew it wasn't here. Elaine stood outside the house for 20 minutes before knocking, not because she was unsure. No, she knew exactly what she wanted to say, but because she wasn't sure what she deserved to hear in return. The porch light flicked on. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Harold looked the same, calm, steady. But there was a distance in his eyes now, not anger, just the quiet weight of someone who had stopped expecting apologies. "I wasn't sure you'd answer," she said. "I wasn't sure you'd knock," he replied. She nodded, swallowing hard. "Can I come in?" He didn't say yes, but he stepped aside. The house smelled like cinnamon, the kind of scent she used to set out on purpose. It hurt more than she expected. Elaine sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where they'd laughed, argued, planned holidays, cried through funerals, and shared Tuesday meatloaf for decades. "Travis was a mistake," she said quietly. "A loud, ridiculous, tone-deaf mistake." Harold didn't respond, just waited. "I confused attention with love, noise with meaning. He made me feel wanted, and I let that blind me." Still, silence. Elaine's hands trembled slightly. "I left looking for something more, but all I found was how much I already had." Harold finally spoke. "You left me for a kid who still wears backwards hats and refers to himself in third person on social media." Elaine winced. "Fair." "I was selfish," she said. "I thought 40 years meant you'd always be there, no matter how far I pushed. But that wasn't fair to you." Harold stood slowly, walked to the sink, and rinsed his coffee mug. He didn't look at her when he said, "I cooked dinner for 2 weeks, and it turns out I didn't hate it." She nodded, blinking back tears. "I'm not here to ask for everything back," she whispered. "Just to say I'm sorry. And if there's room for anything, a talk, a coffee, a quiet afternoon, I'd like to try." Harold finally turned to her, looked her in the eye, and after a long pause he said, "I'm not promising anything, but I'll pour you a cup." Elaine smiled. It wasn't victory, it wasn't repair, but it was something. And sometimes, after the storm, something is a miracle. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to the channel. I wish you a great mood and good luck.